the Netherlands just like publicly saying that they are going to limit the number of Chinese students they receive because the Chinese are evil and trying to steal their technology. Yeah, like this is an actual thing, right? So look, this is reported by Financial Times, and the education minister De Graaf said that he was investigating curbs on students funded by the state-run Chinese Scholarship Council after several universities started excluding them on security grounds. Recipients of grants have to swear allegiance to the Communist Party, return to China within 2 years of completing their studies, and report to the Chinese embassy in the country where they study. Says who? What they're employees of the state? They're spies now? I mean, this is ludicrous, right? Also, the fact that they try to frame it as, oh, well, it's a state-run scholarship. What do you mean? Most scholarships in the world are state-run. What the hell does that prove? De Graaf is saying that, quote, in general, the targeted use of grant programs to obtain high-quality knowledge and technology for the state is undesirable. And he says that the risk areas, sensitive technologies, are currently being mapped out. The screening will be risk-oriented. The approach can be applied to any country outside the EU, so we are prepared for developments in the threat assessment. What does that mean, any country outside the EU? So I'm guessing China and perhaps Russia, right? Where we have to discriminate against them just for being Chinese and Russian. How dare you excel academically and win a scholarship? Clearly, you are a state spy for the Chinese Communist Party. Yeah, anyone can sound like Mike Pompeo, right? So The Hague has come under pressure from Washington to restrict the transfer of advanced technology to China. It is announced that the most advanced silicon chip making machines for manufacturer ASML would require an export license. And then the Dutch trade minister is basically saying that the Chinese, he's saying that if you want a certain technology, you first try to buy it, and then if it doesn't work, you invest, and if that doesn't work, you try to steal it. Gradually, all Dutch universities will reduce the number of students from China and reduce research cooperation with Chinese counterparts. This is president of TUE, right? And China's foreign ministry said that it hoped the situation would not be politicized and stigmatized. Once again, you see how polite the Chinese are. I'd have stronger words to say, but yeah. I really find this funny because you have basically a microchip war that's happening right now between the Chinese, and on the other side, you have the Netherlands and the United States, right? Because as I read to you, they're requiring an export license now for ASML. And Micron is the other company. So just so you see here, this is from ASML's website, right? They're a microchip producer. The thing is that this is kind of like what we saw with TikTok and Huawei. You have the Chinese that are building excellent technology, and because we don't like that, we don't want to have competition in Europe or in the West. Now we have to ban the Chinese, or we have to make it more difficult for them to actually sell their technology, or we have to outright sanction it. Huawei phones, for example, are sanctioned. They even tried kidnapping the CFO, the chief financial officer from Huawei, right? In Canada, she was in Canada. They arrested her on the grounds that the Americans wanted her, and they were going to extradite her. And then the Chinese were like, okay, well, if you want to play games, we're going to sentence these two Canadians on, to death. We're going to put them on death row. And magically, the Canadians they suddenly released the Huawei CFO. Magically, she was no longer guilty or suspected, of any crime. She could magically be released. So, they try to politicize China's success and try to make it into, oh, they're evil, they're spies, they try to steal our technology, right? So the other argument you hear is that the Chinese are putting TikTok and Huawei in your homes so that they can spy on you, and that everything they all the data they collect is transferred and transmitted to the Chinese Communist Party. Hold on a second, man. People have barely forgotten about the NSA and Google and Apple and Microsoft and Yahoo and Skype, which belongs to Microsoft, and Facebook and all of these tech companies, all of the major tech companies in America, not only giving data to the NSA, but AT&T literally had a room for NSA to come in and just steal the data, and GCHQ. So on both sides of the Atlantic, you have GCHQ and NSA taking all of this data from these huge tech companies that not only people in America use, but worldwide, spying on people, mass data collection, right? Illegal data collection. And now you're trying to tell me that the Chinese are doing that? This is projection. This is nothing but projection, right? Everything that they do, they start accusing the Chinese of doing because they don't like that China is building better phones, or that TikTok is the #1 app on the App Store. So, Donald Trump, and again, they're trying this now, is that they're trying to get ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, to sell the app, or else they will be banned. Why do you think that selling the app to the United States will make it safe suddenly? What kind of argument is that? You just want to steal the app. And I want to show you here. This is the former finance minister in France, and look what he was saying. Right now, he said this is a momentous change. Chinese universities are overtaking their Western counterparts, with some now ranking higher than Oxford, higher than Cambridge, Princeton, and Caltech in high-quality scientific research, right? So scientific research. 7 out of the top 10 are now from China, okay? So here's the table. This is the Nature Index of universities. You have Harvard, then you have, so you all know Harvard and Stanford. You have 3 who are American in this table, right? And 7 who are Chinese. These Chinese universities are overtaking Western ones, but apparently it's the Chinese students who are spies. They're the ones that we have to be afraid of. Well, how do you know someone from Cambridge is not going to go and steal data from the Chinese or try and spy on the Chinese technology? You think we don't do that? You must be a sucker of unprecedented proportions to think that the UK and the US are not sending so-called students to spy on the Chinese and steal their technology. We invented this type of crap. So I think this is really, really dishonest that, we're going to ban Chinese tech and do whatever it takes to squash them just because we don't like competition. Let me show you just quickly this. Oh, and by the way, Canada, when it comes to AIIB, right? Look what they said here. They're freezing ties with them because they're saying it's dominated by communists. So you have people from Canada who probably know nothing about China. They going to China and discovered, oh my God, people are communists here. Yeah, okay. So what? Well, what does that even mean? It's like this sentence I told you with state-run. Yes, most scholarships are state-run. Well, that's so surprising. It's such a narrow worldview. Like, oh, no one can be different from us. They have to be the same. And we are stuck in the 1950s Cold War, and everyone who's not an avowed capitalist is a threat. So let me just show you this video from Mick Wallace, who's an Irish MEP, and what he had to say.
I've lost count of the number of times that we've discussed Hong Kong in here. I'm surprised you're still not giving out about the protests in the place and the treatment of the protesters. Maybe it's because only one protester was killed in 2 years and he wasn't killed by the Chinese police. China got Hong Kong back from the Brits in 1997. Hong Kong had never known anything remotely close to democracy under the Brits. It was an empire. There was a colonial empire and a fairly brutal one. And the idea that we have the right to lecture China about what's going on in Hong Kong. Who in God's name are we to be lecturing anybody? Why don't we actually sort out things in our own place? We're so fond of interfering in other people's business. We were in China for 10 days and we didn't go on an official mission in April. You know what? And it was such an impressive country and such an impressive people. You know what? We should learn to be a bit more tolerant of other cultures and other nations and stop being judgmental and thinking that we're the only ones with values.
I have nothing further to add. Thank you to the gentleman from Ireland. Thank you, Mick Wallace.